gives me great pleasure this evening to introduce Dr. Vera Zdarsky, who was born and obtained her medical degree and Masters in Oral and Dental Surgery in Czechoslovakia. Vera has lived in New Zealand for over 30 years and practices oral medicine and dental surgery in Auckland. Her life has been a big exploration of different healing modalities and a spiritual quest. Her main interests are Eastern philosophies, namely yoga darshana. In New Zealand, she has obtained a degree in clinical hypnotherapy, yoga therapy, and Taoist healing arts. She is a yoga, tai chi, and meditation teacher. And she feels privileged to be able to study Parampara with several great masters, as well as at various schools. Vera has explored many other aspects of healing arts, such as auras, gems, energy, color, sound, and herbs, just to name a few. She is fascinated by the power of the human mind and why some people heal and some do not. She is a long-term member of the Theosophical Society and a national lecturer. The topic this evening is I-Ching, the Book of Changes. So welcome, Vera. It's lovely to have you here, and over to you.
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here and share this fascinating ancient text with you all. I first encountered it when I was very young, about 15, 16, and I thought, oh, that's just a book of divination. You know, I truly didn't understand the deep meaning of it and significance. So I rather started with Tao Te Ching and that sort of stuff. But slowly I got to it. And later on, I was lucky to join the group here in Auckland that studied Tao and encountered the master I-Ching, who has written many books on Taoism, and the main book I studied from. And it's really amazing topic. So let's start with this picture. It shows you the pre-heaven and post-heaven combination of the hexagrams. We will talk about it later, but the first one is like before creation, which is more stable and it's kind of repeating. And the second one is after creation, and it represents the changes. And that's the changes that we really interested in looking at. And that's why we consult this amazing book sometimes if we want to give us kind of more insight into ourselves and understanding the changes that are the most permanent thing in life. That's why it is called also the Book of Changes. So here we see the pre-heaven and symbol. So what the I-Ching is, it's actually translated as a book of changes, and it's enigmatic yet practical ancient oracle and teaching text. It holds quintessence of Chinese wisdom and therefore plays paramount role in Chinese culture. In the 19th century, I-Ching was translated, and only then in 19th century, really, it reached out to the rest of the world, making enormous impression and proved the Chinese geniality. I-Ching is actually the most subtle structural representation of the active interdependency of the human mind and the phenomenal world that has yet been made by man. It summons the mind to its most inherent possibilities without the constriction of names and syntax. As we see, it's just the lines, yeah? So it looks more like into the impression. It's not expressed by words, but it leaves it to us to think what it wants to say to us. So it leads us prior to the conceptual and controllable expression of language. And it can awaken in us to what we actually feel, think, and can do. So if we really do go and consult the I-Ching, we're not looking for fortune telling and say us, oh yes, I have to hook up with this partner, or yes, I have to go ahead with this project, or no. It's the opposite. We never should look for yes and no answers. The proper use of consulting or looking into advice from this wise book is for self-mastery, service to all people, and that's why it should never ever be used for trivial purposes like, let's say, oh, which hotel should I stay tonight when I'm in the foreign city and things like that. Nothing simple like that. It should be used more wisely and more for introspection in looking at the situation we're in and we're seeking advice on from the higher view. So first I'd like to look at the origin of the book. And it's actually, according to some, it's as the thing here says, according to Wink from 1979, he claims it may be the oldest book on the planet. It's actually not quite a book, it's just hexagrams, it's just the lines. And it's because it's containing prehistoric divination techniques and nature observations, which may be traced down to the elders of the nomadic Siberian tribes. As they say, the Tao originates from those Siberian tribes as far as 5000 BC. Traditionally, though, the authorship holds Fuxi, the first Chinese legendary ruler who lived around 3000 BC near Yellow River. The very old legend holds that Fuxi first saw the trigrams on the shell of a turtle. The turtle shells were at that time used for divination. What happened? They were heated and then red, you know, and they were used to look at the cracks on the or lines on the shell by skilled readers, and then they were interpreted. Those lines are also considered the origin of the first forms of Chinese characters. At this time, all the content of the book, well, it was just lines, not the book really. And then it was looking at changes trigrams combined into those hexagrams. So here we see the picture of the heated shell and some cracks that showed on, and also the little bit of the characters in the most ancient form, which now is in simplified Chinese a little bit different. It stays more traditional in some parts, yeah. So, and here we see Fuxi, the legendary ruler. If we look at the true text or first commentaries, they were introduced by King Wen, which we see here on the picture. And the legend says that this king was imprisoned around 1160 before Christ, while his small state was invaded by army of Shang dynasty, and used his time in prison, elaborating on hexagrams. So later on, his son, Ten, the Duke of Zhou, added more comments, and the book was known as the Zhou Yi, or Change of Zhou. Then another edition by very famous person was Confucius, who enriched the book greatly with series of commentaries. And he himself stated, if some years were added to my life, I would dedicate 50 years to study of the book of E, and then I might come to be without great fault. So I-Ching is actually considered to be inseparable component of traditional Chinese culture, influencing Taoism, Confucianism, and also Chinese Buddhism. Furthermore, I-Ching is a source of knowledge for science, mathematics, medicine, martial arts, history, literature, military affairs, arts, ethics, politics, religion, and much more. It's just part of Chinese culture. How did it come to the West? The first translation into the Western language appeared in the 19th century, quite late. And it was done by Catholic missionary P. Regis and by the Reverend Canon McClatchy of Shanghai. But the best translation came in 1882 by British sinologist James Legge, and we still can get the book these days. It's quite old, of course, and all that. Later on only, however, in the beginning of 20th century, Richard Wilhelm's translation that was published in English in 1950 made the text really popular. So what is the structure? What is it? What are these hexagrams? As you see, they do represent lines, either the interrupted line, like two little lines, and big line. Yeah, if we then combine them two together, they are the creation of hexagram. When we do the reading, we always read them from the bottom, and later on I will explain to you how you will create one for yourself. So they represent the basic elements of nature, like earth is interpreted by the broken lines. The mountain, sometimes you look at it, mountain, it's the unbroken line on the top, and two earth, like earthly, or the broken lines at the bottom. Water is, as you see, two broken lines with the one unbroken inside. Then we have wind, like as if under the heaven is the movement. Then we have thunder, like something strong under, or fire, lake, like on the mountain, the lake. You look at the hexagrams and you can sort of see for yourself. Then heaven is three unbroken lines. Then they are interpreted in this sort of thing that is put into the circle with the Tai Chi symbol in the middle. I would like to stop a little bit and tell you about it's very similar to Madame Blavatsky's explanation when we start with reading her book that we all find fascinating and quite difficult. then we will see in the beginning the empty circle, right? And it's in Chinese like Wu Qi. Then later on it starts moving and it divides in Tai Chi. So this is Tai Chi 2 symbol. But I would like to point to those two lines or two circles that continue in the white and dark part. There is a little secret that is explained when you study a little deeper. It's not like on the right-hand side when you only see white in the black and black in the white. It's actually both another Tai Chi 2 symbol. So it represents that changes go on and on and on. All right, so it's never changing, never stopping. So we have all those energies, and then they can be used to identify the different arrangements. The two orders are viewed differently according to the interaction of those energies. Pre-heaven, which is the one on the left-hand side, when viewed as evolving clockwise, shows the rise and decline of yin and yang. Okay, the top trigram is heaven and shows yang at the fullest, which gives way to the wind, showing yin entering from the bottom, right? You can see that. In the image of water, yin surrounds the yang, and in the mountain, it pushes the yang out at the top, leaving only pure yin as earth that is at the bottom. The cycle continues, and as yang enters at the base and surrounds and pushes out the yin until there is only pure yang once again. So it's the representing before creation situation. Post-heaven order, however, is viewed by looking at the oppositely paired images, for instance, fire and water, as you see on the top, fire and water, wood, thunder, and metal or lake, wood, wind, and metal heaven. Through their interactions and integration, these opposing forces create all phenomena. See? Only the images of earth, mountain, and earth harmonize, thereby stabilizing the opposing forces. Pre-heaven arrangement shows the self-generating cycle movement of the different energy phases, whereas the post-heaven arrangement shows the interaction of opposing energies that actually bring about creation. So by looking deeply, we can discover that energy has phases. And then after the integration of the different phases, a new life begins. All life and all existence is the multiple transformation of primary chi that we see in the first. On a superficial level, one can get a discriminating information and see differences, but at the very core of energy, there are no differences. This leads to the spiritual level. However, a person needs to deal with the superficial levels in order to understand the traceable natural phenomena, and that can help control one's self-cultivation. So that was a little bit of that pre-creation and post-creation, and emphasizes all the changes. Here we see how actually the 64 hexagram goes. You know, you see all the 8 on the top and the bottom, and then they combined together to create the hexagram, okay? So 6 binary decisions or hexagrams are casted and interpreted each time, and the main line is also determined. I'll explain to you later how. Traditionally, yarrow or Millefolium siberica stalks or coins were used, but other simpler methods are used today, like the best is to use rice grains or other seeds, we were advised to use Cassioptora seeds, which we bought at the Chinese shop on K Road. So then even computer can generate the lines, but I don't think it's that personal. You have to probably better do it yourself. So then it can be said that I-Ching contains Tai Chi, the great ultimate, and is expressed via yin and yang. They then separate in greater and lesser yin and yang via transformation of the primary forces of light and dark, while doubled, and later by adding a broken or unbroken line, the trigrams are formed. The hexagrams are then simply created by combination of those 8 trigrams. Then it creates 64 of them, yeah? And each of them represents a natural element with different qualities. So if we look symbolically, heaven represents invisible world, it's top line, world of man, middle line, and realm of earth, bottom line. Any of the hexagrams that we look, or those trigrams we look at. Wind, mountain, etc. stands for components of transformation, sharing some characteristics with the situation. So we have to see the law of periodicity here. Philosophy of I-Ching is based on perpetual change. Nothing in life is immobile. And a change is the reality of life, right? And the discovery of this fact was recognition of the law of periodicity, which governs all life, nay, which is life itself, in contrast to which tries to resist change and thus ends in death. That's like we can read in Tao Te Ching, like what is soft is young, it's alive. What gets stiff is not good. We all are mortal as long as we fear death, but we become immortal as soon as we do not identify ourselves with the confines of our present personality and yield to the eternal rhythm of the universe in what we live. So I-Ching is a deep philosophical text looking into the mystery of reality, embracing all that exists. And Huang, that's the one I studied, explains that literal meaning of Ching, actually Tao, truth of heaven and earth, are the truth of human life. Interesting thing is that I have discovered that Dr. Schoenberger in 1973 describes in the book I-Ching and Genetic Code. He says that he finds the structure of polarity of the I-Ching actually identical with the genetic code. So this Chinese ideogram signifying a change and formation, clock and anti-clockwise circulation, if put in the dimensional spiral using 8 primal images, is the same as DNA helix. Just like Crick and Watson, you know, the Crick and Watson discovered the DNA and the helix and all that. So it was proven by electron microscope and all that, but the old Chinese hexagrams show the same. I-Ching combines yin and yang, and DNA helix is created by male and female germ cells, the basic and the highest spiritual principle of love, pervading everything, and teach us that love overcomes all, and without that, life is impossible. I actually found that fascinating. Yeah, but it's true. Yeah. So here we see the Dr. Martin Schoenberger book, and the helix and the little things showing the similarity. Isn't that fascinating? So how do we consult I-Ching? So here we just we have to follow certain steps. So then we have to look for guidance and not avoiding responsibility, not take away free will. We're not looking for some fortune telling. We are looking for some aid to help us to look deeper inside. It teaches us to open to all possibilities and find own solutions to the question of life that we asking or we pondering, or decision that we have to make at the particular time and space. So we must never ever consult for mean purpose or with selfish motivation or ask for trivial things. Oh, so first we have to find a quiet place that is clean, no odors, smells, or we have to be clean in the mind and body at the same time. We should not be in a hurry or just after meal with heavy or sleepy mode or all that. It's best to find in between meal time, and best is like also in the evening, later at night when we are alone and without distractions. We should take maybe a clean paper, write the question and clarify the question in our mind very clearly, what we asking, like what would the job I'm going to take do for me? How would I reflect on it? What would it bring? What the kind of job is it? Or, you know, if that's the partner, is what kind of partner is that person? What would you advise me on this? This Chinese hexagrams, you know. So it's good to write the question on that nice clean of paper, and also realize that your mind is like a pond of water. When the water is quiet, the image is clearly reflected. So if you throw a stone into the pond, the reflection becomes distorted. So stay calm, because the I-Ching is a mirror of your mind. Thus, it is a great importance that it be still, lucid, and that the right image will appear on that mirror, and the you know, the energies will be according to that. Formulating a question, it is wise to consider your approach. The I-Ching is guiding us in harmonizing our dualistic nature. Therefore, questions which require yes or no, as I already said before, are not appropriate. We more asking of the consequence of the action that we're going to do or undertake, and things like that. When you are ready to ask your question, you can focus on your lower mind and your upper mind and enhance your own concentration by using the question that Master Ni in his book advises, like, invariable kind virtue of the universe, please respond to the variable question of my human life and show me the consequence of taking this new job or this partner, whatever, through a hexagram and line. Yes, so So if we still stay with that, so then we will take the seeds which we have. Rice is best. The master Ni does not advise to use coins because they are noisy and then they disturb. And using the stalks is rather complex. So we take the middle finger and a thumb and put the rice on that paper with the question on the top and take and create the heaps, right? We have to create 6 of them, like 2 hexagrams, okay? So take one and then we, let's say, pick and put on the paper 3. It is not an odd, but that's odd number. So it will be 3 is like line. If we pick 2, 4, 6, it's a broken line, yeah? And then like that we do 3, then that's the lower hexagram. We're going from the bottom. Then we do the top hexagram, same thing. And then we also ask further question, which line is having particular significance for this question of mine. And we pick with these fingers again the seeds, and let's say we get 9. So because we only have 6 lines there, so we will finish with 3, right? If we get 4, it's 4. If we get 10, it will be 6 plus 4. So it will be line 4 of significance. Understand? Yeah. So that's how you establish your main hexagram and then your special line of significance. Then the Master Ni advises, or what we studied with him, he tells us to look at what we got and feel what we think, because we should know what each line means. So we should be able to see that. So we know what the heaven trigram looks, what the thunder, water, or whatever. So we get our own impression that we have from that. And then we may consult any of the books that we have. That there are several these days that we can buy. I suggest this, the Book of Changes and Unchanging Truth, I-Ching by Ching Ni is one of the best. Anyway, the purpose of consulting I-Ching: to point the way towards a new attitude by dissolving the old one. Obviously, we are asking, what would that new job do for me? Should I go for it in that way or that way? Would it be beneficial? In what way? You know, look, you're looking for something on those lines. You look for transformation, which is a sign of life that make us move forward and not stagnate. But change, learn, see out of the square, look into the lines, and remember that changelessness is a sign of death. The change is the most permanent thing that we face in life. Another thing is to be willing to hear the response. Sometimes we may not like it, so don't ask twice or 3 times the same thing. That's the universe you're talking to, the universal energy. It may not be happy with you to sort of ask like and don't trust. So you have to accept the answer and meditate on it, sit on it, you know. So as I said before, first observe the lines only. See, what do you see? Heaven, earth, thunder. What that might mean for you personally, because you're looking in retrospection for yourself. So think what those impressions they create hexagram could tell you. Contemplate on it. Then listen to the silence. Think of Madame Blavatsky, you know, Listen to the silence. Watch the invisible. You know, feel what you cannot touch, but it might be hiding behind the message that you given, yeah? Also, after you receive your message, never forget to still yourself and express gratitude and respect to the universe, universal field, the mind, the mind of the universe and ancient masters behind all of this, to thank them. It's the same as we do our Tai Chi. We start with connecting to the heaven and rooting ourselves from the stillness, and then go to the movement. We create the movement where yin and yang changes. And then when we finish, we go back to the calming ourselves, finish the form or whatever Tai Chi movements we do, and return to Wu Chi. Yeah. So that's the message. So the change is the main message, and listening to that change, what it can mean for us, what is it telling us, and unite with the nature and consult the nature. So that's all about that book. And I've got a couple of little quotes that like, change is never easy. You fight, hold on, and you fight to let go. When asked, would you rather work for change or just complain? 81% of the respondents replied, do I have to pick? This is hard. And Gandhi himself said that you must be the change you wish to see in the world. So after all, none of us can change our yesterdays, but all of us can change our tomorrow, as Colin Powell says. So change is good. And the caterpillar, yeah, actually, just when the caterpillar thought the world was over, it became the butterfly. So let's become butterflies. Feel the change, express the change, and live the change. Okay, so that's all for me. And if we can go back to the hexagrams, if you have any questions or any comments, you're very welcome. It's a fascinating book, and the master I-Ching is the amazing one, but there are others, and it may not be for you, but it's definitely interesting, and it's kind of represent the change, represent connection with the nature, and going with the changes in nature, like we live different in the autumn than in spring, in winter, we reflect, we just live and change. So thank you.
Thank you, Vera. Fascinating stuff. Fascinating. Can you, okay, so any questions, thoughts, comments for Vera? Okay, so I can see Chris, off you go.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Vera. You have got an incredible mind. You know, all these years that I've been listening to you speak, you have been exploring so many different concepts that are about life. I do admire you very much, and very, very interesting talk tonight. That book that you mentioned, what is the name of it?
It's I-Ching, the Book of Changes and the Unchanging Truth by I-Ching.
So it's H-U-A-N-G. What was the second name of the author?
Hua, H-U-A, Ching. It's Master Ni. He now he calls himself Omelette Ni now.
So
yeah,
how do you spell his last name?
Ni, N-I.
N for Nelly,
No, Nelly,
M for mother.
N for Nelly, and I for ink.
I've got that. Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, as I said, the book became like not very interesting to me when I was 16, but later on, studying more on the Taoism and Tai Chi, I became more familiar and understood a wee little bit more. But as the Confucius said, he would like to have 50 more years to get deeper in the study of that. So, yeah.
Well, I would just say in closing that you're quite remarkable, because with your actual career and all the study that you put into the work that you do, along with all of these other things that you've been able to share with us, these other studies, I think that you are quite remarkable, and I thank you very much for making yourself available to share with us.
Yeah,
Thank you, Vera.
Oh yeah, thank you for your lovely words. It's actually, I studied Chinese in Auckland Polytech, so I've done that as my year work. Yeah, it was appreciated, and it made me to go deeper, because only when you present or when you do something on the topic, you learn even more about it. So it's making a suggestion. You all should find a topic and present it to us, and that will enrich you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vera.
Okay, everyone's had the challenge now from Vera.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Any other comments, thoughts? It's interesting in terms of the changeless versus the change. Is the one from where we all come from, and yet here we are in life, which is motion and movement and change. Jenny, yes, hi.
Hi, Vera. Thank you for your talk. What struck me immediately when you started speaking about it was the similarity that it has to tarot as a tool of self-reflection, and the same symbols appearing in different positions and in conjunction with each other to tell a story. So what I'm wanting to know is, looking at the symbols there, I can see heaven and earth, above and below, fire and water. I'm not understanding lake and mountain, thunder and wind. Thunder and wind, I see wind is movement, thunder is sound. Am I on the right track there? Is there some kind of system?
This one is pre-heaven, the pre-heaven, which has heaven and earth. It's like as if in the ideal order. And then later on, you have to realize that some elements support each other. Some of them are opposing, like fire and water obviously are opposing. But it's in the change, it's after creation, right? So there is some sort of more similarity like that. Yeah.
So Vera, just so on the left is the ideal. Yes,
that's the ideal, that is before we create, and then it comes like this, and then we pick the hexagram when we are in some sort of emotional state. Okay, when we ask the universe, or the energies of the universe of help to resolve our thing that we're pondering on, it gives us something, and it sort of lets us think for ourselves, what we think about it, and it might be just help to make a decision on some sort, you know. Yeah, so.
So I'm just thinking between each question in terms of like in the ideal on the left, you've got wind and thunder. So what's that relationship there in the ideal state between, say, thunder and wind?
Wind and thunder. Well, when there is a big wind, the thunder comes and then it clears something in the atmosphere. That's like you have to listen to it for yourself, what it will tell you with your question, isn't it?
Similarly, then for the lake and the mountain, you've got that. There's always a lake essentially at the bottom of a mountain or something to that effect. Is that right?
Yeah, well, yeah. There is ideal position of the lake to be on the mountain, in the nature and things like that. So you listen to the changes. Otherwise, we will get into more complicated thing within explanation of the forces. It's much more complicated and it takes lots and lots of study, and it's got to do also with the lesser yin, you know, like full yin earth, full yang heaven, and then combination in between, and strong force, weak force, light force. Wind also represent the wood, for instance, and you know that's much more deeper than just this little introduction. And I'm, after all, not hard expert on that. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Joanne.
Thank you. Let me just adjust. Thank you, Vera, for a very interesting presentation. Nice to meet you. In recent years, I've spent quite a lot of time in the Czech Republic, in Prague,
Yes.
where I studied active dreaming at the Maitreya Center with Robert Moss, and we also went into the countryside as well.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, I have a special place in my heart for the Czech Republic. So thank you very much for your suggestions. I made notes, and I think there's some tips that I will use. I've consulted the I-Ching for many years, and I've found that a faithful companion, it seems to almost have its own personality. It can be like a grumpy Chinese sage, like if it doesn't like your approach, it will tell you off, this sort of thing.
Yes, so I asked the same questions a couple of times, which I've done too. Even and sometimes you asking question about your child for instance, and it gives you answer about your partner or something, because it's under your mind, because it reads your mind, it reads the forces behind, you know.
Yes,
like
yes. It can respond in an unexpected way, but there's always a wisdom there.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just mention that the book I work with, and I'm going to look up your reference as well, is the Richard Wilhelm translation.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to highlight the foreword by C.G. Jung, which I think is quite useful for Westerners, because it can act as a kind of bridge between the Eastern perspective, which can be very different until you get used to it, and the Western traditions. And I just noticed that Jung talks about the principle of synchronicity, which is crucial in the way the I-Ching works. So the correspondence between the inner and the outer that occurs at the moment of asking the question and making the hexagram, that everything comes together, the question within, the events without, and then there's this kind of synchronicity, which is a key concept of Jung's. So I just thought that was useful to highlight. And he suggests a connection with our subconscious or unconscious at the time of using the I-Ching.
Yeah, that's what Master Huang Ni also says. Look at the inner and outer, at your lower mind and your higher mind, and just listen. Yeah, and be open to the change. Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And yeah, it's good to like my native country. I love it, even though I would not live there anymore. I love New Zealand. Yeah,
Right.
let's go visit. That's good.
I really miss it because I used to work in Europe and I used to often go there.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Lovely.
one day I'll be back.
Next year.
Yeah, maybe next year. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mariana.
Hi, Vera. I usually use two translations of the I-Ching. One is Wilhelm, and the other is the Taoist master Alfred Wang. And my question is regarding when you get many lines with changes,
Yes.
and what's your point of view on that? Because some people say you should choose just one line to read one individual line. Other people say you should go from bottom up, like a progression. So I wanted to know what's your opinion on that.
I think you should go from the bottom to the top and then look at, as it says, each part represents certain aspect, and also look for that special line. First of all, look, mostly the fifth line, which is the second from the top, is a main line, but sometimes it's not. It's you have to look at the hexagram and look at the line that seems to be main in the hexagram, and also which line you picked for main line, and give it second counsel. Yeah, and main thing is to see what you feel, because there is no right or wrong, kind of. It's only the interpretation that you will find for yourself, or the advice you find for yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Also, I wanted to say, I actually wrote it on the chat, but there is also a theory that says that was Mary Louise von Franz, who was a Carl Jung's disciple, and they say she was actually the person who first discovered the link between the genetic code and the I-Ching. But I'm not sure about it, because I can only find a reference to that topic in Psyche and Matter, and that was published in 1992, I think. So I'm not sure. Some people say that maybe she wrote it somewhere else in the 60s. I have no idea. That's a theory. That's something I wanted to share.
Yeah, well, that was that book I presented in the presentation with this doctor who has written the book about it, but maybe it was known before. And obviously the intuitive knowledge of those old people had the feeling. They didn't know the fact as we do now, but then they had some feeling. Like, how come these sages, like all those Indian sages, did know so many things that we only now proving, So they meditated, they looked at the nature, and then they find answers that then are only now being proven.
Okay, thanks, Mariana. Sushma.
Vera, would you please explain how to use the rice that you mentioned, that you can use when you pick up a few grains of rice? How do you come up with the hexagrams? You'll have to unmute yourself as well. Thanks. Vera, you have to unmute.
The rice, you use your thumb and middle finger, and then you pick, you have a pile of rice. The rice is the best, or some seeds, and then you pick, and then you put on a little pile, and then let's say you get 7.
Oh.
So it's a yang line. Okay. If you would pick 6, it's a broken line. Okay. So
oh, I see odd numbers and even numbers.
yes.
And then we make a note on a piece of paper or something.
Well, you usually make it like when I do it, I just do the line, then I continue until I have 6. Then I will do a special line, and that's done as I explained before. You pick it, and then whatever you get up to 6 is your line. If you get, let's say, 8, your special line is 2, because you get 6 and then 2, you know. So if you get 9, it's 3. Yeah, you deduct 6. If you get up to 6, let's say 6, then your main line is 6. That's a special message in the line 6.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else with any comments, thoughts?
In India, I think in the southern part of India, in Kerala, I think they have got the seashells, something like that. They just throw it out and then they sell something. I do not know much about it.
Yeah, it might. Yeah, but these days, I suppose the tortoise shells won't be that good, because we obviously have to kill the animal and all that. And so it's ancient history, but yeah, it's a part of the history. So obviously when you heat that shell, it shows cracks, and that's the first how they read the thing. Yeah. Yeah.
There is a chat from Bill. He says, thanks, Vera, a very interesting talk. I use John by Blofeld's translation. I find it very accessible for English-speaking people. Good night to you all, and to you and all attendees, Bill.
Yeah.
There's one more translation people can consider.
Yeah, there is several translations now. I have most of them, but I find this one that I'm using, but it's up to your preference. It's okay, whatever you get. Then I've got one book in pictures and this and that. It's amazing. It's amazing topic, and it's as was said here, the tarot is your advice, same as this. So yeah. Well, and again, I'm a mere student. I'm not an expert in it. It's just fascinating topic to me that I did some study on, but there are people who know much more. So if you want to know more, you need to approach some master to learn more. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic, Vera.
Yeah.
Any other final comments, thoughts from anyone?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'd like to give a vote of thanks to Vera. Really appreciate your time and energy. Really fascinating. I had a mate of mine who did the I-Ching, but he had coins, and he would shake these coins and they would get his patterns.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, as I know, but our master says it's sort of disturbing the energies, so he doesn't recommend using the coins, but it's up to anybody. You do what, you know, there is no right or wrong way. It's only your way, isn't it? Always.